who serve. Pray for the local businesses and ask, oh God, that you would give aid for those in need. We pray for families. We pray for those who are celebrating the holidays alone. Use us, oh God, to bring healing and peace. And it is your most blessed name, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
God's blessings, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. Dave, I want to do the honors.
Stan, please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Recognitions of gifts, donations, community service to the city. Does anybody have anything tonight? All right, we do have a resolution underneath that. Resolution number 15234, resolution accepting $6,000 donation from Thomas Daggett for 2 new memorial benches and pads around the Riverside Park Playground.
I'll make a motion to accept that donation.
I'll second that along with thank you.
Motion by Chad, second by Mary. Any other discussion? Roll call. Dave?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Aye. And thank you to Thomas Daggett. Okay, moving on. We have the public comment. Matt, is there anybody to address the council?
Not in physical attendance here today. I know we do have Brian virtually.
All right. Have them go ahead then, please.
Go ahead, Brian. So you're unmuted though. So
There we go. Can everybody hear me?
yep, you're good. So,
Okay. Mr. Mayor, member of the council, I sent you an email yesterday. Number one, I represent, I'm the Vice President of Finance for Odyssey Entertainment. We have, we originally built the Century 9 theaters there in town and have operated it ever since it's been built over 20 years ago. Marvelous theater, well-attended, successful, good member of the community, and overall enjoyable experience being there in Hutchinson. I come forward before you today very humbly, however, and that is with this COVID pandemic, you know, we have been absolutely devastated by this, probably one of the worst affected industries in this entire pandemic. Our revenues for that theater are down over 90% for over 8 months since this thing has started. In addition to that, revenues for just about every movie theater in the country, and therefore, and many in across the world, including Europe, are down equally as much. I'm not here to ask for a handout. I'm not here to ask for sympathy. What I am asking here for you today is to understand the predicament that these policies that are being put forth by many at upper levels of government are having on movie theaters, gyms, restaurants, you name it, and it's devastating. You know, what was once a healthy business here is now, you know, it literally is fighting for its survival. Movie theaters in particular, as I've outlined in my email to you folks, we're a little bit different business in that we can't just turn the switch back on when these restrictions that we've been affected by and these lockdowns come and go. Movie theater release schedules are a long supply chain cycle. It's not just like movies come back the minute we can open our doors. What happens in these pandemics, or what has happened, is movies have really just abandoned the slate because the studios don't want to put out these movies that we exhibit, which are very expensive, in the middle of a pandemic when there isn't screens open. We have received a little bit of support money, but nothing near that's needed to keep these venues open. And I'm just talking about ourselves, but I'm talking about maybe the State Theater downtown, or else even those across other, communities across Minnesota and really across, the nation. We've been working very closely with a lot of the representatives at the state level. And while we understand that the city, doesn't have the resources to necessarily help us at this point, we've received one $13,500 grant, which thank you very much. And working with Miles Seppelt to get that done. Miles has been great, but obviously our property taxes on that facility alone are $40,000. So it doesn't even cover, it just covers a fraction of that, let alone the couple $100,000 in operating expenses that building costs to run every year. What I will say is we are working with a number of state legislatures, particularly Dave Baker out of Wilmer, Representative Baker, who is sponsoring a bill, or is going to be putting it in front of the governor, trying to allocate about $400 million out of the state's $2 billion rainy day reserve fund. And we need all the support we can get to get that message loud and clear in front of the governor, because so far, what we've seen coming out of the governor's office hasn't been encouraging. We need big support, and we need it now. Matter of fact, we've been very successful in other states where we do business, particularly South Dakota, Iowa, and Wisconsin, which have given and are prepared to give some fairly large grants to get us to the point where we can get through to the backside of this pandemic. But Minnesota is really lagging behind right now, and we need your support. And all we're asking for is if you would be so kind, is to pass a resolution of support, understanding and pleading and sending that off to the governor's office, letting them know how important it is to support Representative Baker's motions to get some of this rainy day money to those businesses like ourselves that have been affected. We were just closed down again this past Friday, and we will be for a month. And one of our most important times when some of the biggest movies come out, and we do have a big movie come out, and now we're going to be closed for it. So, I don't know how much longer we can hold on at this point. We have been fairly conservatively financed, but I know, and we're doing our best, but these buildings are expensive, they're big, and they chew up a lot of capital. And, I just fear if we don't get some traction here fairly soon, Hutchinson and communities like Hutchinson are going to lose their movie theaters, and probably lose them for good. With that, I'll turn it over to you folks if you have any questions for me.
Matt, when I read the email and, hearing some of the other businesses that are struggling with this, would it be more timely, instead of waiting to pass a resolution, because we're not ready to do that right now, but maybe send a letter to the governor's office on behalf of the city council, asking that, financial assistance be looked at for businesses across the state that are struggling. I know they're looking at something, but, include movie theaters, and maybe include the email that we got and some of that other background information that was included with that. At least something that could be done quickly and more to the point, that the movie theaters in particular are looking at. I don't know what the rest of the council thinks about that, or Matt.
I'll just say I have sent letters out. I think it was during the first shutdown on behalf of a couple of the restaurants in town. That was before there was any aid given. And so it's not anything we haven't done. And I think it's obviously something very easy and simple for us to do. I guess, Brian, a quick question. Has there been some sort of form resolution put together that you could pass on to us, that we could, even if it's, 2 weeks away, which is our next council meeting, I think we can do the letter of support and then even follow that up with a resolution of support. Has there been something put together that we could, I guess, copy and cheat, if you want to say? It's kind of easy for us to do it that way. If not, we can easily put something together, but I wasn't sure if there's something out there already.
This stuff has kind of hit us so fast, and this just really came down the pike last week. Nothing that I know. We don't have anything put together. It's not necessarily our wordcraft that we're good at. I would just say whatever motion, whatever political force that you can, or pressure that you can apply to expound the urgency of what this Governor Walz order is doing is going to destroy. I mean, we don't have PPP money anymore. We don't have extra unemployment insurance money. We don't have anything. I mean, we were on the call this morning with Representative Baker and a number of his constituents, and they get it. They understand what's going on. Steve Tripp, our president here, has written I think he's written to every state rep so far. He's written to every U.S. rep and every U.S. senator. We are getting some traction there, but it's just not going to come fast enough. And I'm not necessarily just speaking for ourselves personally, selfishly. I see this happening to large swaths of the entertainment and leisure hospitality business. And I don't think you folks see what's coming down the line. I mean, we're talking about catastrophic failures at this point. And the governor came out today very disappointingly to us and said, oh, well, we'll give you a sales tax holiday. I don't need a sales tax holiday when I've lost 90% of my revenues. That's the last thing we need. We need access to this rainy day fund. If there's any time it's been raining, it's pouring right now. And that's what we need to get through to him, because we understand the cities don't have the money. We don't understand the counties don't have the money. But what Representative Baker is saying is give that $400 million to the counties and let you folks, to the counties and cities, and let you folks allocate it to the best of your ability and means. We don't need it coming from the state. If this money can get into your hands, we think you folks are the ones that get this money out to the most affected businesses, not some grandiose plan, that's administered from some state agency in St. Paul.
Yeah.
And
hang on. I have a hard time with the rainy day fund. We talked about with our budget discussion earlier that the state's facing, $2.5 billion shortfall. And so I think it's just safer and more fair to just talk about it in the respect of financial assistance for businesses, including the movie theaters. Obviously, it really comes down just like it did last time with money from the federal government, but it's going to take time, unfortunately. And I think the state's struggling too, through all this. So I don't know what the right answer is, but I think showing support and expressing support and, really asking that this be looked at and some assistance be provided and work with the federal government is really essential. So,
Brian,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Brian, I think what we'll do is get you a letter of support out and probably just do a resolution for next meeting for support of Representative Baker's plan. I think that's about all we can do right now for you.
That's all we're asking. It really is. We get, Steve, we get the understanding. The one thing that I will say about the state budget shortfall, which we are aware of, is what Representative Baker is saying is put the $400 million out now to cover and keep us going, but then replenish that with the eventual aid package that they're expecting to come out of Washington. So it's really more of a cash flow issue, but yeah, we get it. We understand.
Yeah, Brian, I've got your email. I've got the letter that was sent to the council. And I think that's a good help for me in writing our letter of support and drafting some sort of a resolution of support as well. I would say if you get anything in the meantime between now, next couple of days, if there's something that comes out, feel free to pass it on to me because that will help us as well. So,
we'll do. And thank you very much for your time tonight.
All right, thanks, Brian. Hang in there. We're all with you.
So thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to address the council, Matt?
Mayor and council, there is no one else here in attendance at this point, so.
All right, with approval of minutes, we have the regular meeting minutes of November 10th, 2020, and the canvassing board minutes of November 13th, 2020.
Hey, Gary,
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Steve.
I just had one correction for the regular minutes under the public hearing. It says that Councilmember Cook feels the assessment should be prorated on corner lots to be fair and consistent. That should actually be prorated for street width to be fair and consistent. That's what we talked about. That's what the policy talks about. So if that correction could be made, I would make a motion to approve both that and the canvassing board minutes.
I make a motion. I'll second.
Motion by Steve, second by Mary to approve both minutes with the correction. Roll call, Dave?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is consent agenda. This will be done with one motion unless somebody pulls something off for discussion. A is approval of the 2021 invocation schedule. B is appointment of Tim Hacker to the Planning Commission to March of 2023, filling Jessica Forcier's term. C is consideration for approval of application to conduct an off-site gambling for the Hutchinson Hockey Association Incorporated at the Crow River Golf Club on January 16th, 2021. D is consideration for approval of resolution number 15236, resolution calling for a public hearing on modifications to the development program for the Development District Number 4 and the proposed modification to the tax increment financing district number 4-16 within the Development District and proposed adoption of modification of modified the tax increment financing plan therefore. E is consideration of approval of resolution number 15237, resolution adopting the city snow removal and ice control policy. And F is claims appropriation contract payments. Is there anything that anybody wants pulled off?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Dave to approve consent agenda. Any other discussion? Roll call, Dave,
Aye.
Mary? Mary?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. No public hearing, communications, request petitions, review of McLeod County CSHAH Highway 115 Improvement Project Public Comment Requests.
Thank you, Mayor. CASA 115 County State Aid Highway 115, like we discussed at the last council meeting, the county highway department and their consultant involved in the proposed improvement project of County Road 115, Airport Road from County Road 7, the extension of School Road on the end.
Thanks.
Yeah, the limits of the project being County Road 7, the extension of School Road on the westerly end, and then on the east end, Trunk Highway 22. And what the county's looking for is, and their consultant in particular, is just general feedback. Obviously, I've had a few conversations with the county engineer with respect to the Jefferson Street intersection that I alluded to last time. The county is hoping that after this project and improvements are made at that intersection, that the city will be willing to take on what's about the last 700 feet or so of Jefferson Street up to County Road 115, up to Airport Road. That's still in the county's jurisdiction. So they're hoping to turn that back to us. We have been unreceptive of that, I guess, up to this point due to the nature of that intersection and the skewed alignment of it and obvious safety concerns there. And there's a little bit of an accident history at that intersection also. So with that, what I put together is a quick letter and touching on all the intersections of our city roadways out there. And I sent it over via email today. I believe if we want, Matt could bring it up on the screen there, but I'll just work through this pretty quickly on the bullet points that I've pointed out as, in essence, comments with respect to this potential project as they develop it. And we'll start on the west end, the county fairgrounds access point. And this is the access point on the curve there, the compound curve that works its way around the airport to the west of Trunk Highway 15, the roundabout, obviously. There's an access point going into the county fairgrounds. I believe use of that access point has continued to go up over the years. When I first started, I don't think it was as prominently used as it has been in recent years. I think there's hopefully an opportunity here to implement a turn lane and a bypass lane, similar to other intersections on this corridor. Second bullet point, Montreal Street intersection. This would be just to the east of the roundabout, basically the Menards, roadway. Montreal is adjacent to Menards and Culver's on the north end of that segment. There's a typo here, but it should read administrative pavement markings adjustment to eliminate the through lane shift for westbound CASA 115 traffic. There's a shift there in the markings. It's about half of a lane's worth there. You're probably well aware of it, so hopefully that can be remedied. Sherwood Street intersection, obviously by Harmony River. The existing configuration was, in essence, completed by the city when we built Sherwood Street. So the implementation of the current right turn lane, westbound right turn lane, and eastbound bypass lane, those were built as part of our Sherwood Street project back in 2010. We believe that performs well. There's not a significant amount of traffic on Sherwood that's going onto and off of CASA 115 at that point. Fourth bullet point, Jefferson Street, and then the extension of County Road 25 on the south side of that intersection. Yeah, like I just mentioned, this is really a focus of this effort that the county's going to undertake, and it's correcting the skewed intersection, which more than likely is going to involve property acquisition on the north side of 115 and possibly on the south side. So they'll be taking a good look at that and possibly implementing dedicated turn lanes also on 115 as a part of a intersection reconfiguration there. Working our way to the east, Adams Street, County Road 25 extension to the north, to the north. Yeah, it's in the naming convention. So review the feasibility of implementing a dedicated eastbound left turn lane to protect those eastbound vehicles making a left turn movement as they're approaching Adams Street and to head north. It's not a primary movement, but I think it's a problematic movement due to the sight lines that are compromised when people are coming over the bridge immediately to the west there. Likewise, it would be nice in my mind to have some sort of intersection, system, advanced warning system that you've seen probably in other intersections on state highways. That sight line there is problematic to say the least, albeit I don't know if significant intersection improvements can be made there per se a roundabout. Not that I'm, recommending that, but there's obviously some constraints due to the proximity of the bridge to the west and the Highway 22 intersection to the east. And then in general, speed limits should be reviewed. They are 45 miles an hour, well, to the east of the, what I'll call the Highway 15 roundabout. They are 45 miles an hour through Sherwood, and then they kick up to 55 miles an hour. The signage out there is a little bit inconsistent. I think that could possibly be improved. Looking online and the feedback that's come, there's not a lot of feedback on their comment map, but about a lot of it is with respect to speeds and what people are seeing out there. And then lastly, roadway/intersection lighting, possibly reviewing or implementing a more consistent and brighter lighting approach throughout that corridor. There's some lights out there at intersections. Granted, it varies from intersection to intersection. Some of them are lit with one of our 16-foot decorative poles like Sherwood and Montreal. Others are lit with a taller, more of a highway pole, albeit there's only one pole at I think all of the intersections that are lit from the county standpoint. So I think a little bit better approach could be arrived at from a lighting standpoint. So with that, yeah, unless council has any other input, feedback, I'll send this letter over to the county's consultant. Yeah, I think they'll entertain our thoughts or comments. Obviously some of the stuff comes at a cost. Some of it could be a fairly significant cost if it involves property acquisition. This roadway is evolving as we speak. It's becoming more and more of a urban collector and not a county highway. And, I think that's reflected by some of the unfortunate accident history that's occurred over the last, 10, 15 years that I've seen. And hopefully as the county entertains, basically putting a new concrete road down, now's the time to look at some of these reconfiguration, approaches that need to be done. And, some of these things can be done in a somewhat of an interim manner where they do the paving and arrive at the lists, and maybe you don't do all the striping initially, but the county's really making a long-term investment on this corridor. They move forward with a concrete pavement resurfacing project, and hopefully they're thinking for the long term with respect to a traffic safety and efficient flow being arrived at. Also, good, Steve.
Hi, Kent. I was making a list and came up with pretty much things you did. One other thing I was wondering about, though, do we need any provision for the Civil Air Patrol Training Center as far as possibly a turn lane for that?
We talked about that between John Olson and myself and the county engineer. I don't believe what we arrived at. We don't believe that the volume is there necessarily to warrant it. You know, it's not going to be a consistent volume. And then even during peak times per se, it's not going to be anything in comparison to, you know, the fairgrounds access point, you know, during 4 or 5 days in August. So I think we're comfortable not having turn lanes at the CAP is what we've arrived at. I think it would be, you know, if there's trade-offs to be had and they're making investments, I think there's better pavement reconfiguration investments to be made at these other areas than that access point.
Okay. The other thing I was wondering about was, do we want to say anything about the shoulders? Some places the county has kind of minimal paved shoulders. They're talking about paving shoulders, but we have no idea what that means. You know, should we ask that, you know, consideration be given for bicyclists or whatever, and that it be at least 6 foot paved shoulders, and then also that whole discussion about the rest of the roadway over to Highway 7, especially that part from Highway 7 to South Grade Road for that linkage.
Yeah, I can mention that, Steve. Yeah, obviously there's paved shoulders to the east of 15, but there isn't to the west of Trunk Highway 15. Yep, I can mention that.
Anything else for Kent? All right, thanks, Kent.
Yep, thank you.
No unfinished business, new business, Minnesota DOT contract number 1045318, Truck Highway 722 and Montana Street Crossing Improvement. We have underneath there a resolution number 15238.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, what's in the packet is a MnDOT contract agreement. It's alluded to as a advanced construction agreement, and basically it's spelling out the terms. Granted, it takes way too many pages to do this, but yeah, we're simply building the project prior to all of the federal aid.
Gary, we're getting feedback again, sorry.
Federal aid dollars being received by the city. So it spells out the terms that we will get our federal aid dollars throughout 3 MnDOT fiscal years, 21, 22, and 23. The funding was supposed to be entirely provided by the end of fiscal year 22. Like I mentioned at a few council meetings ago, the state was able to reconfigure some dollars. So now it's going into fiscal year 23, and they're able to allocate a total of $300,000 to this project, with $240,000 of it being federal transportation alternatives project dollars, and the other 60%, the 20% match, being state district aid, state trunk highway funds, excuse me. So we get $300,000 from the state. Hopefully that'll cover the project in its entirety. Our construction estimate is currently at about $280,000. So if we can ever get approvals and get our plans blessed by MnDOT central office, we'll get this out to bids and get a number, get a bid, get it awarded, hopefully get things, get the signal up, poles and mast arms ordered. The lead times, last I heard, were 6 months. I'll be, once we ever get a blessing, I'll put a call into Miller Burned and our contact over in Winstead, and hopefully they can do a little bit better than that, being 6 months from, sometime in December, if not January at this point. It's going to put us in the middle of the summer, unfortunately. But we're hoping to get this, up and running May timeframe, give or take. So with that, yeah, the agreements in front of you, like was alluded to earlier, there was a revised resolution number 15238 handed out this evening that in essence approves the agreement.
Make a motion to approve the agreement plus the resolution.
I'll second. Oh, go ahead, Mary.
Motion by Steve, second by Mary to approve. Any other discussion? Roll call, Dave,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Chad,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Setting council workshop for December 8th, 2020 at 4 p.m. Review of the Sustainability Facility Analyst Report on the State Theater.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, this is just asking you to consider calling a workshop to review the report that we received from ArtSpace.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Motion by Steve, second by Chad to approve. Any other discussion? Roll call. Dave,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Chad,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
aye. Motion carries. Setting city council organizational meeting for January 4th, 2021.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, this is the first Monday in January. And obviously with the election this past fall, we need to do our organizational meeting. I guess the time is open for whatever works best for you guys. I think we've generally done it right away in the morning on that 4th, but I guess it's up to what works best for the majority of the council.
Can we do it at 9 in the morning? Does that work for people?
It works for me.
That's fine.
I'll make that a motion.
I'll second it. Mary did.
Motion by Chad, second by Mary to set the meeting for 9:00 a.m. on January 4th, 2021. Roll call, Dave.
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Chad,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
aye, motion carries. We have the minutes reports from committees, boards, or commissions. We have the Hutchinson Housing Redevelopment Authority Board minutes from October 20th, 2020. City of Hutchinson Financial Report and Investment Report for October 2020. Does Kent have anything else for us, Matt?
No, he doesn't. So,
How about Chief Gifferson?
yes, he does. So,
All right.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just wanted to give you a brief update on our communication center. As you recall, I believe it was at a workshop earlier this year. You guys reached consensus at that time about the status of the communication center after our new building is complete. And at that time, you guys had made the decision not to continue with the communication center. So I'm here to talk to what the status of the communication center is now. Obviously, I relayed that to our staff at the time. So some of the staff has been looking elsewhere for employment, permanent employment. And as of December 2nd, we will be short 2 full-time employees in our communication center. So normally we have a total of 5 full-time employees, and then supplement that with part-time employees. So we're not to the point where we are in dire straits, but I guess what I'm bringing to you now is we're down to, we're not going to hire a full-time employee going forward. So we're going to try to staff it with our part-time employees and our current full-time employees. However, if we get to the point where we're going to lose another full-time employee, someone finds employment elsewhere, it's going to be more and more difficult to staff our communication center 24 hours a day. So I bring that to your attention more because I don't think, other than reaching a consensus at a workshop about the construction of our new building, I don't know that we've really made a decision, or the council's made a formal decision to dissolve our communication center. So I put that out there, but also just to make you aware that we are in talks with the sheriff's office just to see how that transition would take place, whether it would be limited hours for a period of time until we could no longer staff it at all, and then do a full transition at that time, which may come before the construction of our new building. There's some other things that we certainly can take a look at to try to retain the full-time employees we have to extend that time frame. But again, I certainly don't fault our employees for trying to find work elsewhere that they know is going to be there in a year or two type thing. So I guess, again, just more for your information, just letting you know that we're on top of it, that you may hear some discussion back and forth about transitioning over to the sheriff's office, but that's the reason why. And I guess I would take any questions you might have regarding that, if there are any.
I guess just one thing, would it be possible to have the county maybe take it over at night and then our employees do it during the day when the call volume is higher? Just a thought.
Yep, and that's one of the options that we're exploring right now. And as a matter of fact, we may have to go to something like that sooner than later anyway, just depending on how much help we can get from our part-time staff. Obviously, we have to talk to IES and also New Vera to make sure that all the infrastructure is in place to make that happen, so that we can just kind of turn it on and turn it off when we need to, more than anything.
All right, sounds good, Tom. It sounds like
Okay.
you have it. Oh, I know I brought it up to you before, but I said I'd bring it up during the council meeting. Turkey time.
And you're not referring to Thanksgiving, right?
Well, I suppose we don't want them going out and harvesting. No.
Yep, we're currently just waiting for our permits from the DNR. I put in another phone call to try to get an update and my phone call was not returned. So unfortunately, we have to be patient. We can do a number of things, but unfortunately, we can't harvest wild animals without the DNR's permission to do that. So that's kind of where we're at.
Tom, would it be helpful for people to call the DNR directly or not?
I'm not going to discourage it. All I know is they're not working from their office, so they may not get a timely response.
All right, sounds good. Anything else for Chief Gifferson? If not, thank you, Chief.
Thank you and happy Thanksgiving, y'all.
Do we have anybody else present, Matt, that wants to talk?
Mark's here, but he surprisingly doesn't have anything to share with the council, so.
All righty. Dave, let's start with you tonight.
Well, I know everyone's gonna say it, and I thought hopefully you'd pick on someone else first, but everyone enjoy Thanksgiving as best they can. Be safe. Otherwise, other than that, I don't have a heck of a lot. So, thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Chad?
I will reiterate Dave's comments. Just hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving and be safe out there.
Thanks. Mary?
I'll reiterate what Dave and Chad said. Have a blessed Thanksgiving. It's a different year and things might not be the same, but keep the faith. This too shall end. And next year, everyone can gather together. So happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Mary. Steve?
Yeah, the same here too. Well said, Mary. I did have a couple of things, if Kent's still there. That Edmonton pedestrian light has been acting up, which really is stopping north-south traffic, all the time now. So didn't know if that had gotten relayed. I assumed it did, but.
Yeah. Whether we get a traffic signal, input from yourself, Councilmember Steve, staff knows stuff, through our city email line. They all go to MnDOT. I think what Tom just alluded to, part of the issue is at this point, there's not a lot of MnDOT people that are working, in the office either. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But I will leave it at that. Myself nor Mr. Olson has license to mess with any traffic control signal boxes. So, yeah.
Nope, I knew it's a MnDOT thing, so from before. So, but the other thing I noticed, Kent, just going for walks and stuff, and I was on Century Avenue and on the west side, and just dawned on me that we don't have any trees. Why there's some wide boulevards, and why don't we plant some trees along Century? It's so
yeah, it's fairly open up and down Century. Yeah, even on the other side, to some degree, by the college there, even. So, yeah, no, that's something I'll mention to John and Donovan. Yeah,
sure.
We might have some right-of-way limitations there, especially on the north side of Century with the trail absorbing, I think a fair amount of that right-of-way. For some reason, it sits in the back of my mind that Century Avenue right-of-way was platted maybe more so as a residential street, but we can take a look at it and possibly work with private property owners, would be the other
Well,
option.
there's a lot of it. There's pretty wide boulevards, so just mention it. So take a look, that's all.
Yep. Will do.
And then, all right, thanks.
Thank you.
And then, Matt, I was just wondering about, discussions about the fountain in the river again. I know we brought it up before, and it sounded like later on in the year that might be looked at. So I just wanted to mention it.
Yep, no, it's actually, I think I had a conversation with John about 2 months ago, and it's on our docket to be addressed this winter, so.
Okay, thanks, that's it.
Thanks, Steve. Matt?
Just a couple things. Obviously, a reminder, city offices are closed this Thursday and Friday for the Thanksgiving holiday. And then I noted it earlier at our budget workshop, but our truth and taxation hearing is next Thursday, December 3rd at 6 p.m. For anybody in the public who would like to dial in and watch it virtually, just please email me at mjaunici@ci.hutchinson.mn.us, and I can send you the link to that public hearing. And then lastly, Gary, just maybe something to think about with the organizational meeting, if you haven't yet, but making sure you're having conversations with especially the new council member about committee assignments, along with the rest of the council. So just kind of keep that in mind. And then similar to everyone else, everyone have a a happy Thanksgiving.
All right, thanks, Matt. Just want to just take a little time to just remind everybody that all of our businesses, our restaurants and everything else, they are open for takeout. And got to remember that they're the ones that sponsor the little kids softball teams and everything else. So now it's time to give back to them because we need them people around. So please go out and do some takeout. With that, happy Thanksgiving, everyone, and be safe.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second it. Motion by Chad, second by myself to adjourn. Roll call, Mary. Dave. Steve.
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.